At the top of this program, I told you that we were doing two things. First was presenting a lot of images and videos in the analysis. Well, we've done that. Now we've come to the second thing, the Luciferian Agenda. And the best way to begin this discussion is with a timeless quote from the movie Dune. In that 1984 film based on the book by Frank Herbert, the character, Thufir Hawat, counsels us that the first step in avoiding a trap is knowing of its existence. And this indeed is a timeless bit of wisdom. So in this final segment of our program, we're going to take a deep look at the Luciferian Agenda, what it is, how it uses YouTube and other social media as a death trap, what you can do to help defeat it, and where to begin. And so with that, let's get into it. The Luciferian agenda of today began centuries ago with people who have infinite patience, knowledge of the future, and who are in service to dark forces. Today they are the puppeteers who drive the world scene, and they are merciless in their aims. Who are these people? Well, they're the kind of people who laugh at the sight of babies being impaled on pitchforks. And their agenda for our time is simple: a horrific slaughter of innocents to perpetuate their control over the planet after the Planet X tribulation has passed. You may ask, how perpetual balance with nature? Although the Georgia Guidestones do not tell us how humanity will be reduced to these numbers, one could view this as an approximate population reduction target for the Luciferian agenda. An agenda that is being acted out in many ways, though we're only addressing one in this program. It is what I call entertainment FUD. FUD stands for fear, uncertainty, and doubt, and the Luciferian agenda planners have found entertainment forums like YouTube, Facebook, and other social media outlets to be highly effective platforms where people tend to give nonsense the benefit of the doubt. After all, if what you're seeking is entertainment, this is what you do. So, who is providing all of this entertainment FUD on YouTube? In this program, you have already seen two of them, and what they do. First, you saw how paid disinformationalists like fluters propagate hoax videos to play on people's fears. Then you saw the shallow and misleading debunkings of people like Dazza the cameraman, who sow uncertainty and doubt merely for the purpose of their own self-aggrandizement. Whether they do it wittingly or unwittingly, all of them are serving the Luciferian agenda. And what will be the fruit of their labors? Each in his or her own way will help to ensure a maximum death toll during the coming Planet X tribulation. While the tribulation will last for a decade or more, we will be past the worst of it by the end of the third year, or into the fourth. Which brings us to the most crucial moment in the Luciferian agenda timeline. All comedians will tell you that timing is everything, but the announcement timing of the Luciferian agenda will be no laughing matter. This is when the population, towards the end of the worst of the tribulation, will have plummeted to its lowest levels. It will be a bleak time, and those who do survive to this point will be hard-pressed to carry on. This is when the perpetrators of the Luciferian agenda will come up from their underground layers with offers of inducements and announce their bunkers and underground warehouses packed with seeds, food, medicine, clothing, construction materials, and other resources necessary for rebuilding the world. Is there a catch? Of course. And for those who survived the worst of the tribulation, access to these inducements will come at a steep price. They must agree to the terms of governance offered by the perpetrators of the Luciferian agenda, including mandatory RFID tags. In other words, if you want the goodies, you're going to have to take the chip. Of course, the perpetrators of the Luciferian agenda will assure everyone that this is necessary for practical reasons and that the functionality of these mandatory RFID tags will be limited. And this will be the cruelest lie of all. This is because these mandatory RFID tags will have features built into them for mind control programming. Most notable of these will be the chip's ability to block our connection to Creator. Yes, that is right. The perpetrators of the Luciferian agenda have identified the frequencies we use to feel God's divine presence, and will use these RFID tags to block those frequencies so they can replace our divine sensations with those of their own fabrication. Is this God's plan for us in the tribulation? The Luciferians will lie to us and say that it is. But does that really mean that's the way it has to be? Consider this. The Book of Humankind is a large book with many chapters, and it is far from being complete. So know this, like all books, all chapters eventually come to an end. And while there are many more chapters to be written, what about the present chapter? The sad truth is that the present chapter belongs to the Luciferian elites and cannot be taken from them. But what they know, and do not want us to know, is that the next chapter does not belong to them. That the next chapter belongs to us. And the only way the Luciferian elites can own it, to call the bluff when the Luciferian elites offer their inducements of slavery. This is when enough of us must stand together and say no, knowing that we're not saying no to the carrot, but rather the stick. So, what could possibly motivate these hard-pressed survivors to do this? It is the eternal desire for freedom that burns within all of us. And it's not important that everyone stands up for their freedom. It's only important that enough of us to make a difference do. For example, during the American Revolution, 70% of the colonists either sat on the sidelines or helped the British. In other words, we do not need a majority to win. All we need is a critical mass of courageous souls to call the Luciferian bluff by saying no to the inducements. Therefore, how must future survivors be encouraged to act at this crucial moment in the future history of our species? Through violence? No. That is not the way to begin an age of enlightenment, for blood begets blood. Therefore, if we are to have a truly enlightened future, it must happen through peaceful and determined means. Like a candle in the darkness, we must offer hope for an enlightened future, so that the love of freedom ingrained within our species will take its natural course. And it is my firm conviction that once this love of freedom is sparked within us as a species, no amount of evil can deter it. Therefore, if enough of us in awareness today survive to become these future sparks of freedom for our species, the human passion for freedom can and will be ignited, and in a multitude of ways. So, let me present just one way as an example. In 2015, I chose, along with many others, to become sparks for freedom. Our way may not be your way, but what makes each spark for freedom different also makes it special. This is the vision for the Knowledge Mountain Church of Perpetual Genesis, a non-denominational online teaching church in service to those in awareness who resonate with the following 3 Spark of Freedom precepts: self-sufficiency, hope for the future, and knowing that you are not alone. With self-sufficiency, the concept is simple. It's better to eat beans from your own bowl than steak from another man's hand. But the process of doing that is not as complicated as you may think. There is an old adage, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. It is most appropriate because those you will help are going to be your future students when the time comes. You, on the other hand, are the teacher. Ergo, while you may appear mysteriously out of nowhere to the student, As the teacher, mentor, and comforter you are destined to be, your appearance is in no way mysterious. Herein is the key to your surviving the tribulation along with your loved ones. It is your ability to find the right sort of leader to bond your allegiance to. How do you find this person? In much the same way college recruiters find the very best students. The very best students all tend to follow predictable paths in search of the knowledge they need to excel. As a recruiter, all you need to do is to observe these predictable paths and then follow the students. Then, when you have identified your potential candidates, you quietly observe them to see if they are demonstrating the right abilities. And when you shake their hands, look deeply into their eyes and trust your instincts. Then, if you feel inclined, initiate a dialogue with an innocuous question such as, "What do you think of the weather? Isn't it a bit freakish these days?" If the answer is dismissive or trivial, then abandon this prospect and move on. This is because what you're looking to see is what is known as perception. In other words, does this person see the world exactly as it is? And if so, then test their perception with another weather-related question. Ask if he or she has ever looked up to see what the jets are spraying in the sky overhead. What you want to hear is that he or she has noticed it, and at the very least, finds it to be out of place. If so, that means that this person is perceptive. Without this essential ability, no faith-based leader can be effective during the tribulation, let alone worthy of your assistance. So, are you ready to take action? Are you willing to become a spark for freedom in the future? Then, one first step that you can do is to visit my site at yowza.com, YOWUSA.com. There you will find the article, Awareness in the Eye of the Storm. Many of the concepts discussed in this video were drawn from that article, and if you take a few moments to read it now while this program is still fresh in your mind, you will have the full picture. I know we have covered a great deal of information in this program, so if there's just one thing for you to take away and remember, let it be this: that the Luciferian agenda uses a diverse range of tactics to ensure its aims. And in this video, we talked about one, entertainment FUD, where, whether it be wittingly or unwittingly, folks like fluters and Dazza the cameraman are in service to this evil agenda. It's why I call them mudslingers, because after all, how can one hope to build a house of wisdom on mud? Its floors will never be level, and the structure will never last. But then again, that is not the real problem. As odd as it may sound, being stuck in the Luciferian mud is not the problem. Refusing to get out of it is. And I'll leave it on that note. So until the next time we meet, remember Marshall's motto: destiny comes to those who listen, and fate finds the rest. So learn what you can learn, do what you can do, and never give up hope. This is Marshall, and I'll catch you on the backside. At the top of this program, I told you that we were doing two things. First was presenting a lot of images and videos in the analysis. Well, we've done that. Now we've come to the second thing, the Luciferian agenda. And the best way to begin this discussion is with a timeless quote from the movie Dune. In that 1984 film based on the book by Frank Herbert, the character, Thufir Hawat, counsels us that the first step in avoiding a trap is knowing of its existence. And this indeed is a timeless bit of wisdom. So in this final segment of our program, we're going to take a deep look at the Luciferian Agenda, what it is, how it uses YouTube and other social media as a death trap, what you can do to help defeat it, and where to begin. And so with that, let's get into it. The Luciferian agenda of today began centuries ago with people who have infinite patience, knowledge of the future, and who are in service to dark forces. Today they are the puppeteers who drive the world scene, and they are merciless in their aims. Who are these people? Well, they're the kind of people who laugh at the sight of babies being impaled on pitchforks. And their agenda for our time is simple: a horrific slaughter of innocents to perpetuate their control over the planet after the Planet X tribulation has passed. You may ask, how perpetual balance with nature? Although the Georgia Guidestones do not tell us how humanity will be reduced to these numbers,